My name's Christian Allison, and I work for a company called Arup.
Yeah. Thank you very much. And why did you decide to study at the University of Aberdeen?
Um, Maybe I should explain a little bit about my background first. So I was actually born in Aberdeen,
Mm-hmm.
was educated in Holland, and so I decided to go back to the UK following my school studies,
Mm-hmm.
actually to learn English, because we had a family history of being at Aberdeen University. My grandparents, my parents, my sister before me were
Wow.
at Aberdeen. And at the time, I was an overseas student, and getting into a university in the UK was actually quite difficult
Mm-hmm.
because you've got, naturally different education in different countries and trying to assess it. It was not many universities that offered places from that perspective, and
Yeah.
Aberdeen was a bit easier to get into.
Yeah. Interesting. And so, what aspects of your time in Aberdeen you really enjoyed? Maybe something from your social life, maybe some societies, student organizations that you joined.
Yeah, I lived in the halls to begin with. So what I enjoyed was meeting lots of different people
Mm-hmm.
from all different you know strands of what they were studying.
Mm-hmm.
So that was great. Um, in terms of societies, I think at university there are a lot of societies, different types you can join. I focused on sports,
Mm-hmm.
so cricket and water polo were the ones that I joined at Aberdeen.
Nice.
Um, yeah, so I think outside studies, it's a very sociable place, and Aberdeen itself is not a big city.
Mm-hmm.
Um, it's also extremely easy to explore your surroundings. You've got the
Yeah.
sea, you've got the countryside beside you, so everything's extremely accessible.
Mm-hmm. Yes. And in what ways has your education in Aberdeen prepared you for your career? Maybe some skills you learned?
Yeah, so my career is I'm an engineer.
Mm-hmm.
So civil engineering is what I studied at Aberdeen, and that's obviously what I did when I first started. And I joined actually. I joined Arup straight out of university. So the engineering degree is both theoretical, but there are also practical aspects of the course. And so actually it prepared me quite well for entering the job market.
Mm-hmm. Interesting. And did you always know that you want to be an engineer?
Pretty much, yes.
Yeah.
Yes. I wasn't entirely decided what type.
Mm-hmm.
Initially, when I was younger, I thought I would become a mechanical engineer.
Mm-hmm.
And then as I got a little bit older, my later teens, I realized I was interested in building design, actually creating things.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, so it's more the structural engineering aspect of civil engineering that I then focused on. And at Aberdeen, the engineering course, the first 2 years is across disciplines. So you don't actually focus into your final field until the last 2 years of the course.
Interesting. And did you have any internships or part-time jobs as a student?
Plenty of part-time jobs,
Mm-hmm.
but no internships. But
Mm-hmm.
something to supplement having some money in your pocket was very helpful. Uh, Interestingly enough, actually, it also allowed you to socialize whilst working. So it's not going out every night.
Interesting. And would you say internships are important nowadays to enter the job market for students?
What is important is that they need to be of value. So simply doing an internship, if it's not focused or if it's not something you can build upon, I don't see much value. And when I'm interviewing for new hires currently,
Mm-hmm.
it's helpful if somebody has some additional experience, um, but only if it's required for the role.
Yeah, I understand. And are there any additional qualifications or certifications you would recommend for engineers?
Um, Not in particular, no. Again, it's a similar thing. If you want to do further education and complement your learning, that's obviously a good thing. So it's uh, appreciated from that perspective. But I would say that again, it has to be of relevance to what your job role will actually be. I mean, it's a bit like people wanting to do MBAs.
Yeah.
Having an MBA as an engineer at the start of your career isn't necessarily helpful.
Hmm.
So have a think about why you're wanting that additional certification, what you're going to do with it.
Yeah. Interesting. That's a good point. And can you please explain what Arup is and what drew you to work there?
Yeah, so Arup is a consulting firm in engineering, architecture, and advisory space, um, effectively serving the built environment.
Hmm.
Um, and what drew me to work there is predominantly the reputation it had. Um, it's one of the engineering consultancies that has worked on iconic buildings and
Hmm.
projects throughout the world. Started, one of the main iconic buildings is the Sydney Opera House, for an example.
Wow.
Um,
Yeah.
and, the ability to work in a company that you're involved in design, shaping cities or uh, changing the lives for people. Um, yeah, very rewarding from that perspective.
That's very interesting. And what is your role there?
I am currently managing director of Arup in Denmark.
Mm-hmm.
I look after all the services that we provide here in Denmark, and I'm country manager, as we say, for the other Nordic countries, so
Hmm.
Norway, Sweden, and Finland.
Very impressive. And what does your typical day looks like?
Um, there are two different types of days, I guess. One
Hmm.
is in the office and one is outside of the office.
Yeah.
Frequently, there's a combination of both.
Hmm.
Um, um, Checking up on my colleagues and those that report to me to understand how they're getting on with their projects and understanding what issues they're facing and how I might be able to help them. A lot of interaction with our clients that procure infrastructure and buildings. Um, Occasionally visiting our projects on site if they're under construction.
Hmm.
And then a lot, in my role these days, a lot of looking at contracts and commercials.
Hmm. Interesting. And what's your advice to manage teams effectively? How to work with people?
I think in terms of managing them and leading them, perhaps is something slightly different.
Hmm.
In terms of really getting the best out of the people, it's to ensure that they understand that you believe in them,
Hmm.
that it's not about me issuing instructions or telling them what to do effectively. It's about them taking ownership and leading something themselves. And if they feel empowered to do that, if they feel there's an element of trust in both directions, then I think that's when you get the best out of people. When there's an open and honest communication between everybody in a team and shared goals and objectives.
I see. Interesting. And um, so, are there any books or podcasts that you find particularly useful for your career, or maybe non-career related? Some books or podcasts which inspire you or motivate you? Could you please share?
Um, Actually, not particularly, to be
Hmm.
honest.
Okay. Fair
I
enough.
find that I spend quite a lot of time reading and looking at screens already. So what is more inspiring for me is actually getting away from it all
Okay.
and not looking at a screen or reading a book, trying to do
Mhm.
something more active or get outside into the fresh air.
Very nice. No, fair enough, yeah. And would you say networking is important in your type of career?
Absolutely, yes, yes.
Hmm.
Networking, and you can hire good people and find good people through networks. And of course, when it comes to clients and project opportunities, then networking to understand who has what coming up and who has the responsibility or the authority to make something happen, um, and therefore win new work. Yes, absolutely necessary.
Hmm. Interesting. And in your opinion, what's the best way for students to utilize their network like in the most effective way? Like, or how can they benefit from networking?
Um, well, a bit like anything else, you benefit once you understand what your
Hmm.
objective is. So, um, the network that you develop at university, that's one of the most surprising things I think that came out of my time at university is that you get to know a lot of different people in different walks of life that don't necessarily study with because they're doing a different course. They might be lawyers, they might be a zoologist, whatever.
Hmm.
But if you maintain contact, then later in life, when something arises, you can always call upon them.
Yeah.
You know, it's a surprising thing at the university. You make friends that you don't necessarily see every day or naturally later in life because you all end up in different locations, different countries.
Hmm.
They're still good friends, and they provide a good network from that perspective.
Yes.
Other types of networking, I guess, whilst at university, can also lead to job opportunities.
Hmm. Interesting. Very interesting. And lots of students struggle with stress during their time at the university, whether it's because of some personal things or like exams. What advice do you have for students to deal with stress?
It's actually quite a difficult question. I think acknowledging that you're feeling stressed is probably
Mm.
step number one.
Yeah.
And if you feel that having acknowledged that you can try and address it yourself and make some changes to what the way you're either allocating time or putting pressure on yourself. Um, if that doesn't work, then I suggest ask for help.
Yeah.
The thing is, that never goes away. That applies throughout life.
Hmm. Yeah, I understand. And what is the proudest moment in your career?
I've got a number of proud moments, I guess. I mean, when you see something that you've designed being built and being used, then that's extremely satisfying and rewarding. But then, I mean, the projects that I've been involved in vary enormously from size, from something quite small to quite large, like large buildings in London. One of the smaller projects actually was extremely rewarding. Was a very small laboratory for the National Physical Laboratory in London,
Hmm.
where we had to create a small lab that was temperature controlled to a very high degree to allow testing of linear accelerators for use in hospitals for cancer
Hmm.
treatment. And we managed to get it to work, and that way they've been able to calibrate all the machines so that people get the correct amount of dosage when they're getting
Hmm.
treatment. So for quite a small laboratory, it turned into an incredibly complex project, which
Yeah.
is now benefiting absolutely everybody that needs treatment.
Yeah. This is very
So
impressive. This is
yeah,
very
it's
impressive.
very nice little project that.
Yeah.
At the same time, developing a large building for Goldman Sachs in London has been uh, interesting as well.
Hmm?
Lots of other, you know, projects around the world that I've done. When you see them built, it's fantastic.
Yeah, this is absolutely amazing. And the last question is, what advice would you give to your younger self? Or would you change anything about your like life, like at university or after university?
I wouldn't really change my trajectory or what I've done.
Hmm.
I think when I went to university, because I graduated in '94 with a BSc, but these days it's more anticipated that someone might have a master's degree. So I guess that's one of the changes between now and then. If I was going to university now, I'd give myself the advice that to go, you know, do that further education for a master's. Um, yeah. Aside from that, I don't, what advice would I give myself? I think believe in yourself,
Yeah,
and if you don't make the right choice, if it turns out you haven't made the right choice, it doesn't really matter. You can change.
yeah.
Change is constant, constantly happening around us, and as you evolve through your career after university, there will be lots of change,
Hmm.
either in who you're working for or what the role actually is. So, accept and embrace it.